Rebecca is doing a story on communication and being attached to the outside world. On the trains we obviously go across Australia and we go into regions where the population is almost nil. Today we've travelled almost 1,000 kilometres and we've only passed about 4 people who actually live out here in the Nullarbor. To give you some idea of things that can occur out here, when September 11 attacks happened, I was on a train going to Perth. We went through a town called Port Augusta, which is about 400 kilometres north of Adelaide. As we were leaving Port Augusta, we had about 2 minutes left on our phones for mobile phone range. All the staff's phones started beeping about an apparent attack or World War III that started in America, and that America had been attacked. We then went out of mobile phone range and that was the end. We initially thought that it was a joke on the one person's phone, but when 5 of us had the same message, we realised that something was going on. After Port Augusta, about an hour out of Port Augusta, we passed a place called Pimba, which is near Woomera, where there's a big base for the army. And as we went through, we looked in the sky and saw F-18s flying up and down across the railway line and heading towards Adelaide. So we realised that something was up. We made a few phone calls on our satellite phone, which was a little bit patchy, but we did find out that something was going on. Because of the Nullarbor and the diversity of it, it wasn't until the next day at midday we got to Cook and we were able to receive some faxes about what was happening, but we hadn't seen any footage, so all we had was a printed article, 1 page, letting us know what had happened, which gave us a very brief description. With that one we informed our guests on the train but couldn't tell them anything else. As we left Cook, that was the end of our satellite phone unfortunately, and the end of any sort of communications, visual or paper, until we got to Kalgoorlie that evening. And when we got to Kalgoorlie, the guests were able to go into town and look at some televisions, but unfortunately the staff were working, so we still hadn't seen anything. So it wasn't actually for 3 days later that the staff saw what had actually happened overseas in America, and then we had a realisation of what was going on. And I think we might have been the only batch of people in the world, in the Western world, that didn't get the footage or watch the buildings on television for 24 hours, but we saw it 3 days later. So September 11 for me was actually September the 14th.